Hi, everyone. Dr. Tim here in another Dr. Tim's Aquatics podcast. We're doing questions and answers. But before we get to the questions, I'd like to show you that we have two new products from ASF. They are in stock in our warehouse in California, ready to ship. So we have the ASF Coral Fixer. It's a great product to adhere corals and other things you might want to your rocks, non-toxic, easy to use, and has a little purple color on it. Okay. And then we also have Zaptasia to get rid of the nasty Aptasia that can invade your tank. Again, non-toxic, easy to use from ASF France, both in stock. You can order those at our website, store.drtimsaquatics.com. All right. Now, first question is, hello, newbie here. I have a 105-gallon tank currently being filled with salt water. And my next step is cycling. I was wondering if I should put the two filter socks in while cycling, or should I remove them during the cycling process? I've watched several Dr. Tim's YouTube videos, but would appreciate any other helpful advice. All right. So what you want to do is you want to remove those filter socks. Let's back up though. Get your tank all set up. Don't worry about adding bacteria. Get the water in it, get it decorated, make sure there's no leaks, all good fittings, and everything's running right. Let it run for a day just to make sure. You like it, you're ready to go. Okay. Now remove the filter socks. Turn off your protein skimmer. Turn off your ozonizer if you've got one. If you've got one of those roller mat filters, bypass or turn that off, because we don't want any of those devices to remove the nitrifying bacteria. So you turn them off, add the one and only scattered throughout the tank, every place, and then you got to have water movement. Okay, I'm not saying turn off the water movement, the pump, just those devices. Again, filter socks, roller filters, protein skimmer, ozonizer, UV, anything like that. Turn it off. Run the system without those for 48 hours, and then you can turn them back on. Follow the directions on cycling, which you can download at our website. And number one rule in cycling, don't add too much ammonia. All right. The ammonia is going to disappear before the nitrite in almost all cases. Resist the urge to think the bacteria are starving to death and you've got to add more ammonia. Follow the directions. All right. Number two, I'm new to the saltwater hobby, setting up a tank and ready cycling it. My fish store has suggested I use your one and only solution. Great fish store. Be sure all the systems are working. Add solution, add fish 3 or 4 days later. No mention of testing. In your literature on one and only, there's reference to fish and cycling. To fishless, not fish, fishless. Yeah, fishless cycling. Which way is the best? So tank ingredient will be water, 7-stage RO, instant ocean sea salt, Carib Sea live sand. I'm open to best practice. I plan for fish and coral in the future. So there isn't any best way, but one thing is fishless cycling generally takes longer than fish cycling because you're adding, when you use our ammonia drops, you're adding a lot of ammonia. You're really building up the bacteria. If you're just going to have a few fish in there, a few small fish, it's fine to add the correct amount of bacteria that we recommend for the tank and add the fish, feed sparingly. Yes, you should have test kits to be measuring the ammonia and nitrite just to make sure things are working. But is fishless cycling better? Not necessarily. It's just different. If you've got a whole bunch of fish in quarantine and you know you're going to be adding a lot of fish at once, you want to do fishless cycling, or else you're going to have to buy a lot of bacteria. Because with nitrifiers, it's a numbers game. More fish equals more ammonia. You need more bacteria. You can either buy them or you can grow them. That's kind of the choices there. So also, if you've got a disease treatment, maybe and you've knocked the bacteria back, it might be good to make sure they're working by adding some ammonia drops. There's just so many variables. One way isn't better than the other. For tanks, again, they're only going to have a few fish, small fish. I recommend doing fish in cycling. get the correct size bottle of one and only, get the system cycling, and put some fish in there, monitor it. Maybe you have to do a water change. I doubt it. And you're on your way. Much more fun. Number 3, hello. I purchased a 2-ounce bottle of Dr. Tim's ammonia from Amazon. I added it to my tank as per instructions and then tested the water with my API master kits reading 0. I then tested 1 drop in 1 liter of water, which should give 2 parts per million, but read 0. I then tested 1 drop in 5 mils and it read 0.25. Could I have been sent a fake bottle of Dr. Tim's? I really doubt there's somebody faking Dr. Tim's ammonia. I mean, the stuff's just not that expensive. I don't know why you'd want to fake it. I would say that 1 drop, that your ammonia test kit's probably bad. A lot of people say, well, you're deflecting, but okay, there's a easy way, but be careful to make sure there's ammonia in the ammonia drops. Put the ammonia on a black surface, like a plastic surface, a countertop or something, and let it sit there for a few minutes, maybe take a fan and blow air across it. What you want to do is evaporate the liquid, and there will be this white, crusty leftover. That's the ammonia. So if you see that, you know there's ammonia. Could we have possibly made a mistake? Maybe, but we go through a lot of ammonia because it's the same ammonia, the same solution that we feed our one and only when we're growing them for you. So I won't say that's impossible. Nothing's impossible. I would check your test kit, take that water down from your tank and get it stored to test it and see. Or if you have another test kit, that would be the most simplest logical solution, is that the test kit's not right. Number 4. Hi, I ordered EcoBalance for my reef aquarium. The bottle was left outside by transporter and it froze at about 16 hours at 15 degrees Celsius. Is the product still good to use? Yes. EcoBalance, Waste Away, Refresh, Clear Up are all heterotrophic bacteria products, which means they form cysts. And so when the solution slowly freezes, they sense this and they form these cysts. Nitrifiers don't form cysts, which is why they can't be frozen. So if that happens, do not hold it under hot water. Let the bottle be, defrost, or basically unfreeze. Is that a word? Yeah, defrost. Thaw out at room temperature. Don't accelerate the process, and it's going to be fine to use. 5. Hi. I have a 40-liter marine tank with sand and rocks and say 8 corals plus 2 clownfish, 4 years old, well seated. Now I have a new tank, 215 liters, with a 100-liter sump and dry rock to put in the new tank. My question is, if I set up tank and sump with RO water with the right salinity and get it to the right temperature, plus add your one and only, plus the fish, coral, old seeded rock, sand, water, and old filter wool, would this seed the tank, or am I putting the fish and corals at risk? Thank you. Well, unfortunately, this is one of those questions that I can't answer definitively. I would not put the old sand in the tank. The rock, fine. It said water. The nitrifying bacteria are not in the water. You can add some, but that's not going to have nitrifiers. So it really depends. Are you just going to move the existing fish and coral? Are you going to add a bunch at the same time? I would have some one and only ready to go, but you're probably going to be fine. The nitrifying bacteria are on the rock work. Why I say don't add the sand, because the sand has lots of organics. It has just a lot of phosphate probably trapped in it. You didn't say how well, 4 years old. Yeah. So there's a lot of phosphate trapped in there, probably. It's just kind of taking a chance. The old sand can cause bacterial blooms. It can just cause lots of problems. So I would not use the old sand, or maybe just the very top layer, skim some off of that. But I would go with new sand, old rock, a little bit of the old water, some one and only, and just monitor it, and you should be good to go. Number six. Been doing your ammonia cycling according to directions. All went exactly as planned, with ammonia and nitrite present, both going down to very low levels after 2 days. Now, however, a day after dosing, the ammonia goes down but slower, and there's no sign of nitrite. After 2 days, there's still about 0.25 ammonia and no sign of nitrite. Where do we go from here? If I still keep adding ammonia, is it daily or every other day? Also, is it a full dose or a lesser dose? P.S. The cycle has been going for about 14 days. Well, so my question would be, did you use live sand? I'm looking for other ammonia sources. And 0.25, these test kits are not analytical instruments. One day it's 0, one day it's 0.25. Then, yeah, don't worry about that. If it's 0 and it's 4 or 5, 2 or 3, that's a problem. But 0.25, that's just the range of the test kit. No nitrite. Well, that's because there's really no ammonia. The bacteria, we talk about this. You're buying from us the bacteria to convert ammonia and the bacteria to convert nitrite. You expect that there shouldn't be too much done right, especially if you follow the directions. So where do we go from here? I would say, how many times have you added ammonia? If you've added ammonia 3 times, there's no ammonia, there's no nitrite. Put some fish in this and let's get going. You're ready to go. You're making, a lot of people make it too overcomplicated. You've added the ammonia. You've saw, you don't see any ammonia or nitrite. If you're not really sure, because there are limits to the upper level of what these test kits can measure, take 1 part aquarium water, 3 parts like bottled drinking water. So you're going to dilute this 3 to 1 and run your test. And then any result you get, you should times by 4. But a lot of these test kits, especially like the Salifert brand, a lot of the nitrite test kits have an upper limit. And if you're way above that, the test kit's going to give you a false negative. So do a dilution just for peace of mind, 4 to 1 or so. Measure it. You still don't have any ammonia or nitrite, you're good to go. Okay, next. Hi, I'm pretty new to fish keeping and had a question regarding cycling. I've been setting up a new tank and using the nitrifying bacteria and liquid ammonia. Every time I add ammonia with the correct dosage, my ammonia goes up to about 0.25 and nitrites to 2, and the nitrates stay around 40. Then after a couple of days, ammonia and nitrite are back to 0. I keep doing the process. Any suggestions what I may be doing wrong? I'm running out of characters. What led to discuss further? Well, you're not doing anything wrong. I mean, this is what's happening. I'm not sure what the problem is. You've added the ammonia. The ammonia and nitrite go down to 0. If you're expecting that to be, 0 in 24 hours, well, 0.25 is pretty much, as I just said, 0. I mean, these test kits can't distinguish that. So that's 0. Nitrite at 2, that's nitrite. Most of these test kits actually measure nitrite ion. We're measuring as nitrite nitrogen. So you have to divide that by almost 4. So you're at 0.5. This tank is cycled. You're ready to go. You're not doing anything wrong. You did everything right. You're good to go and add some fish. Enjoy the tank. Next question, number 8. So long story short, I overdosed on ammonia by a bit. I want to say I got it up to 8 ppm because I was using a bad test kit. See, that's not me talking about bad test kits. That's someone else talking about bad test kits. I'm here on day 15 of the cycle. I did do a 30% water change after 5 days, and it dropped my ammonia down to 2 ppm yesterday when I tested. Oh, hold it. There's no punctuation. Let me start. I did a 30% water change about 5 days ago. It dropped my ammonia down to 2 ppm. Yesterday, there was no period there. When I tested, the ammonia was almost 0, but my nitrates are through the roof with the Red Sea test kit. But the thing is, I added about 12 pounds of established live rock to the tank from a different tank and startup media. Well, I wonder if this person is talking about is the nitrite is through the roof, not the nitrate. I'm going to make an assumption, not always the best thing, but I'm going to make an assumption that he's talking nitrite because that's rather common. The nitrite bacteria work slower than the ammonia oxidizing bacteria. So if you keep on adding ammonia, the ammonia will disappear, but the nitrite will build and build. If it gets too high, it kind of stalls the whole process. Now, some people out on the internet will say, don't worry about it. Nitrite's not toxic. Nitrite is toxic. Nitrite is toxic to the ammonia oxidizing bacteria. It's toxic to the fish. It may not kill them, in 24 hours, but it stresses them. This is a new tank. They just got there. Why do you want to add more stress? We want to get rid of the stressors. So don't believe this bunk that, high nitrite, don't worry about it. Worry about it. You want your nitrite low. You want it 0, but during cycling, you don't want it above 5 because it will stall the cycle and harm the nitrifying bacteria. Okay. So, and 12 pounds of established live rock, you're making the assumption that live rock's full of nitrifying bacteria, but the problem is there's some there, but you're adding with the ammonia drops a lot of ammonia, which your tank probably didn't see. Plus, bacteria biofilms are food for lots of different organisms. So, as you're learning, the live rock isn't really doing a lot for you. So, through the roof, I would do a water change, reduce the dosing. Again, you do not have to dose every day. The ammonia oxidizing bacteria are not going to starve to death. Do some more water changes, get that nitrite where you can measure it accurately, at least more than through the roof. Is it 1? Is it 2? You want it below 2, and then things will start to kick in. Number 9, I just glued my aquascape together using super glue. How long should wait to begin the cycle? Well, next time you might try coral fixer. How's that for a plug? But you should let that dry if you can. It's always nice to rinse and kind of let it sit in water for a day or two and purge. I would say 24 hours. You definitely don't want to have any smell of super glue left in the tank. I have a reef aquarium with corals and 2 cleaner shrimp. I've been growing green algae lately. I've used reef marine waste away at full dose every week for 3 years. I want to try your refresh and waste away protocol to get rid of green algae. What is the difference between marine refresh and marine reef refresh? Question 2, how do we use the refresh and waste away protocol to get rid of the green algae without killing my cleaner shrimp? All right, so there's saltwater refresh and then there's reef refresh, but they're exactly the same product. Okay, we came out with saltwater labeled product, and then people, especially on the coast, East Coast, West Coast, are like, well, I only do reef and I don't want any saltwater products. I want reef products. So we had to label it reef. Same stuff. How do we use the refresh and waste away to get rid? Well, so that you can download this from our website, but basically, once again, it's a numbers game. You want to try to remove as much green algae as you can. Then you hit the tank with the refresh. And with your cleaner shrimp, here's the important part. Don't overdose. Don't just pour it in. Have a good educated guess of the volume of the tank and dose accordingly. Then you turn off the skimmer for 3 or 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours, some time, and let the refresh start doing its job. Then you turn it back on. During this time, the pump is running. You have got good circulation in the tank, and you repeat that. So you do this the next day or wait 2 days. So if day one, you clean and add. Day two, you don't do anything. You could remove if there's starting to see a lot of dead material, remove that. Day three, again, clean, physically removing as much of the green algae as you can, and then dose again. Day four, you clean up things as much as you can. And then on day five, you can start using the waste away. Very important, a quarter dose. Do not use full strength. You've killed a bunch of stuff, hopefully, but that's a lot of organic material. It may have released phosphates and nitrates, which are food for bacteria. Now we have to degrade and get rid of all that stuff. We're going to convert it into waste away bacteria and have your skimmer, roller filter, filter sock, something like that. Remove all that. But we don't know how much there is. So add a little bit, a quarter dose of waste away, and let it start doing its thing. Turn the skimmer off no more than 2 hours. Look long ways through the tank. If the tank is getting cloudy, turn that skimmer on, add aeration, because as the waste away bacteria go to work, they're going to be removing oxygen from the water, which we really don't want. Okay, but there's nothing we can do about that. We need that. So you start slow. If the tank reacted well, it never got cloudy, everybody looks good. 2 days later, now that's like day 7, you add the waste away and you can up the dosage. And basically it's steps. There's not any of this one time, one treatment does it all. That's just going to make a mess, and nothing good happens fast in your reef tank. So take your time. It took time to get there. Then long term, green algae is usually an indicator that you've got high nitrate above 1, and you've got high nitrate above 40 or 50, and high phosphate above 1. You got to get those down. How long, next check, how long are you turning the lights on? 10 hours, 12 hours. I don't even like 12 hours, 10 hours max. Also, look at your blue lights. I found talking to people that blue channel, even in a tank that's only about 24, 30 inches deep, they've got it at 100%. The algae love that blue light too. That's the powerful light. That's why the ocean looks blue. It penetrates the deepest. That's what these animals are evolutionarily geared for. Excuse me. Using the blue spectrum. So turn that blue down. If you've got it at 100% and your tank is 20 inches, 24 inches deep, that's why you're getting green algae. Turn that down to about 40, 45%. Okay. And after the treatment, yes, you're going to want to do a water change, and then look at your maintenance. Long term is, I just mentioned it, what are your nutrient levels? Control that. Are you using kind of the Swiss Army approach, roller filters, skimmer, filter socks, UVs, all these different things that are killing the bacteria in the water column that would normally be the competitor to the green algae? So reconsider how you might be able to do maintenance, but not with all these devices that are removing the good bacteria from the water column. Those bacteria will consume the nitrates and phosphates. Pretty typical with green algae is that people have a lot of devices that are removing the bacteria from the water column. That's allowing the nitrates and phosphates to rise, and they've got a lot of light, and that's just a recipe for green algae. So change all those your tank will look a lot better. You won't have as much green algae, and you'll be a lot happier. Next question. I have green string algae in my 30-gallon freshwater tank. A local fish store sold me waste away for freshwater tanks, but it doesn't say anything about algae. I just want to make sure this is the correct product. Yes. Yes, it is the correct product. Now, the issue is how do you use it the most efficient way? Because normally with waste away, we're adding bacteria. They consume the nitrate and phosphate, growing more bacteria cells. And then we remove the bacteria, therefore removing the nitrate and phosphate, by using a skimmer or a roller filter or a filter sock. Freshwater tanks generally never have a skimmer, but you can put a filter sock in there or even a fuzzy pad, or depending, whatever filter you have, even if it's a corner sponge filter, is going to collect more of the gunk that the waste away is going to produce. So what you have to do is clean it more often, maybe even daily. You're trying to get those nutrients out of the system, because right now they're just recirculating in the system. So start with a small amount of waste away. Well, physically remove as much as the algae as you can. Numbers game it's always a numbers game. Reduce that. Hit the tank with the waste away, quarter dose to start with, not a full dose. Have patience. This process takes time. See how the tank reacts. Did the water become cloudy? Okay, you're not going to add a higher dose next time. Is there a lot of gunk? Sometimes, just like, when you're cleaning your house, things look worse before they look better, especially if you haven't been really maintaining the tank. So just go into this knowing it's not a one day, one dose process. Things might look a little worse for a while. Get through that hump, and your tank will look better. Long term, you've got to have a maintenance procedure. Usually when there's lots of stringy green algae, lighting, have you changed the bulb lately? They don't last forever. Nitrates and phosphates, keep those down. Good water movement, just good maintenance and housekeeping principles. But you can use waste away in a freshwater tank. Just have a filter sock or, fuzzy pad. Just clean it more often to get rid of all those organics. All right, I started treat my tank with refresh for a dino problem with a 5-year-old tank, treating every 3 days for 12 days. My question is, should I do a water change before treating with waste away? And if so, how long should I wait after the water change? Yes, definitely you want to do a water change, get rid of any of organics, get down the phosphates and nitrates down, and then the next day. So it's 24 hours. Do a water change, removing any loose organics, cleaning the substrates. If you've got rock work with a lot of crevices, try to blow those out, suck all that stuff out. You want to get all that dirt out of there, and then wait one day, 24 hours, and then you can start using the waste away. So why do I say wait 24 hours? Well, typically when you're doing this and you're cleaning the tank and you're doing the first part of this treatment with the refresh, you're producing or releasing a lot of phosphates that could be trapped on the rock or in the substrate. That phosphate is usually the nutrient that's in low supply, so it's the limiting nutrient. And so you clean the tank, you stir it all up, you release this phosphate, and then you dump in the waste away. What you could get is a big algae bloom, which you don't want. That's why you wait the 24 hours. Phosphate's a very sticky molecule. In 24 hours, it'll probably be stuck to something. And, it's just a better thing to do is to wait 24 hours after cleaning to add waste away so you don't get a big algae bloom. Hello. I purchased the ammonium chloride to do my fishless cycling process. It's been 4 days since I dosed my 5-gallon tank 3 times, and ammonia is still at 0. From everything I've read, including Dr. Tim's website and instructions, I should have seen my tank spike to at least 2 part per million now. I followed the instructions. Is it possible The bottle I received was a bad batch. Can you help? Please, thanks. Possible, anything's possible. Likely, very unlikely that you got a bad batch. So what's going on here? Well, how much of the one and only? I'm assuming you added the one and only. If you're following the directions, I'm going to assume once again you added the whole, at least 2 ounce bottle. That's for 30 gallons. So you've added 6 times the needed bacteria because you have a 5 gallon tank. Numbers game, I know I've said it a dozen times in this podcast already, but when you add a lot of nitrifiers, because you're not adding 30 gallons worth of ammonia, you're only adding 5 gallons of ammonia. They're just working fast. That's what they're supposed to be doing. Now, I think I said this earlier. It could be that the ammonia, because you didn't say, you only said it's 4 days since you dosed your tank 3 times, but what was the span that you dosed that 3 times? It should be like 7 or 8 days. Always good to check by doing a dilution. Take those water samples, dilute 1 part aquarium water, 3 parts drinking water, stir it up, do your ammonia or nitrite test just to make sure that you're not getting a false negative with that. Because you don't say what test kits. Some test kits are very sensitive and only measure like nitrite at super low levels. So you can double check it that way. Hello, Dr. Tim. I need your help and advice. I'm not sure if you can answer this. It's driving me crazy. I've got Aptasia in my reef aquarium. I don't know. How did it get in there? I did not get any new corals or fish or anything in my tank for a little over a year. Since I bought this livestock, I've just seen a small Aptasia sticking out of the rock. How's that possible? Because nature moves on a time scale that we don't fathom. We want things now, instantaneous, boom, boom, boom. It just, there's just, cyst, it's algae. It was waiting until the conditions were better. It's impossible to tell, but it can, these animals can last a long time before basically expressing themselves, in the egg or larval stage, they can last a long, long time. It's the science. So that's how that's happening. And they just wait till the conditions are better. Good morning. I've used one and only several times to start new freshwater aquariums and rescue tanks. I currently used one small bottle for the fishless cycling and ammonia from you as I have in the past. I have not converted any ammonia to nitrite as of yet 9 days. My ammonia decreased, but no nitrite is produced. It's a 10-gallon tank that was previously cycled, and I tried to keep it cycled by adding fish food, but it became uncycled. I'm also not sure why the pH has dropped to 6. Okay, so the answer is your last line. Why is the pH dropped to 6? Because the conversion of ammonia to nitrite produces not only nitrite, but hydrogen ions. The conversion of nitrite to nitrate produces nitrate, but again, hydrogen ions. Why is hydrogen ions? Because the hydrogen ion is the H in pH. Small p, big H, always big H because it stands for hydrogen. So it's the power of hydrogen. And it's a negative number. Well, -2 is bigger than -4. So what's happening here is that your pH starts at 8. Now you're nitrifying, you're converting ammonia and nitrite. That's releasing hydrogen ions, more hydrogen ions. It's a negative number. You go down to pH 7, pH 6. Problem is at low pH, about 6.5 or so, and definitely at pH 6, 100% of the total ammonia in the system is ammonium, NH4 plus. Ammonium is not the ion that the bacteria can use because it has that H. It's a cation. It can't freely move in and out of the bacterial cell. So basically, the whole process has slowed because the pH is too low. Now, it's very common in freshwater aquariums, not so common in saltwater. because saltwater aquariums have a lot more buffering. So what do? You have to do water changes. You have to keep up on your water changes. And when you say it's become uncycled, no, the conditions have become to the point where the bacteria can't work. So do a big water change, add good fresh water with a higher pH, and the bacteria will kick right back in. So you haven't lost them. They're just not working very fast because the conditions are poor. I don't really like cycling by adding fish food because that promotes organic growth, organic bacteria, heterotrophic bacteria, uh, produces organics. It just kind of messes up the tank. But be that as it may, it's not as effective or efficient as using ammonia drops. I use Dr. Tim's Aquatics, one and only live nitrifying bacteria for freshwater aquariums, 8 ounces in a 75-gallon tank. I put 5 ounces in my new aquarium 3 weeks ago, and after a few days, when I tested the water, the ammonia levels were high. We added the rest of the bottle, and it's been 3 weeks since I did that. Now my nitrites are sky high. Do you have any suggestions? What should I do to get the levels back to normal so I can start putting fish in the tank? Well, what kind of substrate? Did you use a live substrate? Because that has organics, which contributes to the ammonia. I don't know how often you were adding ammonia, but what you need to do is a water change. Just a big water change. Don't disturb the substrate. That's where the nitrifiers are, but do a 50, 60% water change and get that ammonia and that nitrite down. Then your process will kick back in and you should be good to go. But for this system, the water change is really where you want to go. Next. Hi, guys. Love your product and listening to Dr. Tim speak. I have a bottle waste away, probably a year old since opened, maybe more. It's been stored at room temperature, no light. Does it still have some life in it to work, or is it a goner? Safe to use, need to dose up, doesn't smell bad, doesn't smell really like anything. Also, what's a good rule of thumb to do about expiring your products? Don't seem to have lot numbers or manufacturing or expiration dates on them. First, our one and only is the one, it has lot numbers and expiration dates because its shelf life is about 18 months. The other ones, the shelf life is really about 5 years, and the nose. If it's bacterial, if it goes bad, it'll start producing hydrogen sulfide. That means the water went anoxic, absolutely no oxygen. It produces hydrogen sulfide, and that you do not want to use. Other than that, it'll be fine. But generally, it's about a 3 to 5 year shelf life. Next. Hi, I'm a happy customer of Dr. Tim's products. I'm currently cycling my tank, fishless cycling, and I have cloudy water. I ordered Clear Up from Dr. Tim and put a dose in, waited 24 hours while the filter was running, still no improvement. Added another dose, waited 24 hours, still no improvement. Any idea what this could come from and what can be done? So this type of cloudiness is caused by a bacterial bloom. It's a new tank. Maybe you use live sand. Maybe there were oils from the form release of the filter. Be that as it may, it's non-nitrifiers that are blooming. They grow too slow. It's the heterotrophs. Clear Up doesn't remove bacteria. Clear Up removes charged small organic particles by having them stick together and forming a bigger particle, which is then removed from your mechanical filter. So right now, the advice is if you had a UV, that would clear out that bacteria. If you had a skimmer, that will slowly remove a lot of those bacteria. 24 hours and 24 hours. So you've definitely had the tank up for at least 48 hours. So you can turn it on if you have it. Doesn't say fresh water or salt. But if you have a skimmer, roller filter, all those things that I mentioned that remove bacteria, well, now's the time to turn them on and get that tank cleaned up. But basically, what's the cause? I would say there's organics. That's organic, heterotrophic bacterial bloom, which is caused by organics, where the organics come from. And there's not enough information to know that. Hi. Does EcoBalance bacteria lower nitrates? I'm looking for a bacteria to dose that doesn't lower my nitrates. Well, yes, the only bacteria that wouldn't lower your nitrates are the ammonia oxidizing and nitrite oxidizing bacteria that are in one and only. All other bacteria are going to remove nitrates because that's food for them. They need carbon, phosphate, and nitrate. And nitrate nitrogen is really the form they want. So uh, there isn't a bacteria. There really isn't a bacteria that you're going to find that doesn't lower nitrates. It's just what they do. Hello. I'm hoping you're able to help me with a question. I started cycling my 600-liter tank and currently on day 3. Unfortunately, I have to leave the tank unattended for day. I'm going away for about 2 weeks. I can test the parameters for the 6th day. Will the cycling be okay left without any proper input level? And what would I need to do upon the return of my aquarium? Yeah, the bacteria are going to be fine. I dose it up a little bit before you leave. Then when you come back, hit it with those 4 drops per gallon, measure it 24 hours later and see where they are. See how they react. But I wouldn't worry about it. Life gets in the way of this stuff. The bacteria will be fine. They're not going to die in 2 weeks. So hit it with the ammonia when you come back and see where you are and enjoy your 2-week trip. Hopefully, it's a nice vacation. Hello. I'm 8 days into cycling a new marine aquarium using RODI water with dry rock live sand, 120-gallon tank. Using Red Sea blue bucket to match 1.015 salinity. Tank stays in darkness. Temperatures 81, pH 8.2. There's a question in here somewhere, folks, I promise you. Water flowing through a system without any filters. I added up to 2 ppm ammonia after it being 0 after 48 hours. Added 4 ounces in an 8-ounce bottle of 1 ammonia. It's been 7 days since I added the ammonia, and it's still at 2 parts. No change. The nitrite and nitrate are undetectable. I don't know what's going on. Well, oh, live sand. There we go. Use live sand. Well, the live sand is decaying, and that's adding ammonia. I don't like the sentence. I added ammonia up to 2 parts per million. Now, if I read that as literal English, you dosed ammonia until you got to 2 parts. And that is exactly 100% what we say not to do. And if that's what you did, chances are very high that you overdosed the system on ammonia and everything is stuck. And that's not, you're not reading any of these things because the ammonia is in it too. It's just super high. Do not sit and add ammonia until you get 2 on your tank. Trust me, 4 drops per gallon maximum. So that's the problem here. Live sand adds ammonia because it's got organics that decay. They decay into ammonia. And then saying that I added ammonia up to 2 parts per million implies that you added it until you got that reading, which was a whole lot more than 4 drops per gallon. So that's what I'm going to surmise has happened there. And now the fix is you've got to do big water changes. Don't disturb the substrate. That's where the one and only are. But you've got to do big water changes to get that ammonia down. Because what's going to happen if you've been listening to this, people have been saying now next is the nitrite is going to skyrocket and the whole thing's going to just be a mess. And you're going to be there for weeks and weeks cycling this. So bite the bullet, do the water changes. Get the ammonia down. Couple more, folks. Hello, Dr. Tim. I started the fishless cycle with nitrifying bacteria on March 24th. We put in 4 drops a gallon of ammonia on the first day, like the bottle said. But then I found your video, and it says to do one and only 1 drop. So that's what we've been doing for the past 2 or 3 weeks: is 1 drop per gallon and start dosing 4 drops per gallon, even though we've been doing this. Found your video. So that's what we've been doing. should we stop? Oh, should we stop the 1 gallons and start doing 4? Well, there's a tag or a pin on that video because it's got a lot of views, so we have to keep it on there, so it ranks high. But there's a pin that says we changed that years and years. It's been 10 plus years, maybe, yeah, 12. Anyways, should you change how much you're dosing? Really depends. The 4 drops per gallon of ammonia is making the assumption you're going to have a lot of fish. We're building this big population of nitrifiers. If you're doing, and this is an extreme, but if you're doing a small 2 or 3 gallon tank with a betta fish, 1 gallon, 1 drop per gallon is tons of ammonia. So it depends upon how many fish you plan on adding, what size of fish, what they're going to feed. 1 drop per million, or 1 drop, yeah, 1 drop per, not 1 drop, 1 drop per gallon is a fine level of ammonia for a lightly stocked tank. If you're going to have a lot of fish, you want a safety range in there, go with the 4 drops. That's why we recommend that. I'm pretty sure I got a bad 2 bottles of one and only. My ammonia was off the chart after my second dose. The reason I believe it's bad because it wasn't cloudy when I dumped them in. It's my first time, so I don't know how cloudy it should be. I did a huge water change and ordered more one and only from Amazon. When I dumped it in, it was like dumping milk into the tank. That's when I realized that the first dose ordered from your website must have been bad. Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, just because it isn't cloudy doesn't mean it's bad. Um, I would ask what the date label. There's a best by date on there. The closer to the best by date, the less cloudiness you're going to get in the tank. Ammonia is off the chart. How much ammonia do you dose? If you dose 4 drops and you have a test kit that can read up to 2, 3, 4 parts per million ammonia, it should be on the chart, unless you use live sand or dosed 2 parts per million like the previous reader. So unfortunately, not sure. Even after adding the second bottle, things aren't going that great. And that's because the ammonia is too high. You need to do a water change. Don't rush this. You need to keep the ammonia between 2 and 4 parts per million. They'll work. People that follow, and I know everybody thinks they're following in good intentions and believes they're following, but like going up, adding ammonia till 2 is not following the directions. So try to slow down, do water changes, and get your ammonia around 2, and you'll be fine. Hi there. I purchased the ammonium chloride from you guys and have followed the directions of adding 4 drops per gallon. I have a 40-gallon tank. Even at 160 drops, I'm not seeing very high levels of ammonia. It's barely registering 0.5. Anything you can think of that I might be doing wrong? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, what ammonia test kit do you have? Because some kits don't read up to 2. And then how much bacteria did you add? Assuming it's my bacteria, because the bacteria do start to work pretty fast. So what I would do in this, and then, third is, especially it's a new tank, maybe it's a lot higher than you think, and instead your test kit can't measure this high level. So as I said, I think this will be the third time, do a dilution. 1 part aquarium water, 3 parts bottled water, stir it up, and then mix it up well. Then run your ammonia test again. And if it turns green, that's the salicylate method that everybody uses now. That tells you that your ammonia isn't 0. It's really high, and you need to be diluting the water right now during cycling, because your test kit just can't read it. Okay, test kits have limits. I've said that several times. We have an 800-liter tank and are having ongoing problems with red, mainly slime, and green algae, both slime and thread. Using Dr. Tim's waste away reduces the red algae significantly, but instead the green algae seems to increase in growth. We also see the acidity drop to very low levels. Our nitrate, and phosphate levels are constantly low, and we do recommended water changes. If we don't use waste away twice per week, the red algae quickly comes back. Any recommendations? Yeah. What mechanical devices? Can you turn your skimmer, roller filter, all those things I've been naming UV? Can you turn those off for a couple hours each day? It tells you, the system's telling you that it responds to bacterial additives. It's telling you you have a lot of organics in there. And what are your phosphates and nitrates? We don't know what that is, but you have organics, phosphates, and nitrates that are feeding the algae. But if you add the waste away can outcompete it and keep the algae from reducing. Well, there's your answer. Make sure the waste away is in there more often. So maybe consider the gels. We have the waste away not only in liquid, but we have them in a time release gel that slowly releases waste away bacteria 24/7 for 30 days. Why use that? Because a lot of people won't turn off any of their devices. They're not going to change their schedule, turn off the skimmer, roller filter. They're just not going to do it. Okay, well, let's continually dose bacteria. Well, that's a dosing pump and a bottle and mixing directions, and that's a lot of work. So we developed the waste away gels that do that for you. Just put the gel somewhere in the tank, the sump, just someplace. It will slowly release the bacteria, which is the same as dosing the bacteria, and keep the green algae at bay. Please try that and get back to us, but I'm sure it'll work. We have a lot of satisfied customers in the same boat you're in. Hi, I've been cycling now for 3 weeks. The ammonia reading has stayed at 1.1 for 3 weeks. Have only had nitrite at 0.01, 27-gallon tank, and I've used 30-ounce bottle of bacteria and your ammonia as per instructions. I thought it would start by now. Can you advise? Well, doesn't say how many times they dosed. Are you using live sand? And then what's your pH? Because 3 weeks in, folks, even if you don't do much of anything, the ammonia bacteria are pretty much going to establish, and you're going to start seeing ammonia reduction. You might see nitrite, probably will see nitrite, and it'll stay high, but or is this the opposite, bare bottom? If bare bottom take a long, long time to cycle. So if you're going to call in with a question, maybe we can do a call in. But anyways, if you're going to write in with a question I don't really need a dissertation, but tank setup, what you have on it, does it have substrate? What type of aquarium test kits are you using? That helps out a lot. Okay. Well, this one sounds a little weird. Thank you for this. Just to clarify, when you say source of organic, you mean bacteria and algae that grow in the substrate, sand. This results in low nitrate and phosphate, which is the ideal growing conditions for red algae. So cleaning the substrate will result in high nitrates and phosphates and less red algae. The sandbox looks very clean, but also this can be true. If we achieve this, we will see less green algae, as well as restoring the pH. So this is obviously a response to a question which I don't have. So what am I talking about? I say this about live sand too. Organics are sources of phosphate because the phosphate sticks to the organics, and they can be sources of nitrate because they get broken down into ammonia, which goes through the nitrogen cycle and becomes nitrate. And they can be sources of all sorts of micronutrients and things like that. As natural systems age, it's because organics build up and you get this process called eutrophication. This is why one of the basic things you need in saltwater aquarium, aquariums, but definitely saltwater and coral aquariums, is a lot of flow. Because think about it, the reefs usually have a lot of flow, which is pushing the organics out into the deep sea. Well, you don't have that. You need flow to push those organics into the water column so they can go in the overflow or the hang on the bank tank filter. Something can collect those and then you remove it. Saltwater aquariums, you need to do more frequent maintenance of cleaning that mechanical filter and get rid of the organics, because the organics are what feed the rest of the system. This whole thing, just having all this organic material just messes things up. You need to get rid of that. So it won't result in low phosphate and nitrate if done right. That's the balance. I'm not saying, tons of water flow, zero organics, but there's got to be a balance there. And every tank is different depending on how much you're feeding. You don't need to feed 3-4 times a day. That could be a problem too. Your fish shouldn't look like footballs. They shouldn't be that fat. So you've got to get that balance. If you're getting algae issues, that's because the tank is unbalanced, and nature's going to grab that unbalance and try to rebalance things, especially a shallow aquarium with a big, giant, bright lights on there. So we believe we have dinoflagellates. We've done a couple of rounds of the refresh and waste away, including blackouts, according to your instructions. Within a couple of days of removing the black plastic, we start seeing the brown on the coral gravels and pumps. The tank is 125 reef. Our phosphate is 0.06. Nitrate is 10. We use RO water in instant ocean tank. Tank is 12 years old. Do you have any suggestion? We're ready to call this quits. We've been battling this over and over. 12 years old. I would want to know how often do you clean the substrate? Dinoflagellates can actually go send a feeding tube down into the substrate, and they can feed on those organics. Plus, they're photosynthetic. So I would say this tank is old. It's got a lot of organics trapped in the system, and that you need to remove. So kind of the message of the day is get your organics balanced, because I think that's really where the problems are. Organics can be maybe even worse of a problem than high nitrites and phosphates. Those are going to only last for a little bit of time. But high organics can do cyano, they can do dino, they can deter the growth of the nitrifying bacteria because the organics are being piled on top of surfaces the nitrifying bacteria are in. So try to control those through water changes, siphon cleaning, lots of water flow to get the organics. There's two types of organics. There's particulate organics, so the stuff you can see, and there's dissolved organics, which you can't see, but can be removed by resins or good old, phosphate remover. Those would be fine. Okay, but you got to get the organics down. What I wouldn't do, I would not pay for a dissolved organic test. Just assume you have it and use activated carbon or water changes. That's a whole lot cheaper to control it. All right. Once again, I appreciate your attention and questions. So you can all social media or info at drtimsaquatics.com. We love answering your questions. It's always something new. And until next time, this has been Dr. Tim and another Dr. Tim's Aquatics podcast. Good fish keeping.